Everyone, and welcome to our webinar on a new topic today, which has been asked by quite a few people now. And by the way, guys, we have changed the platform now. We were earlier on GoToWebinar, and we faced quite a few issues because of which we had to even, cancel our session a couple of times. So now we have shifted to this new platform. I hope you are able to see my screen, hear my voice. I hope there is no problem with that. If there is, please do send me a message and I'll look into it. My team is standing by and we'll look into it on an immediate basis. Starting off, the topic for the day is on securing payment card data with emerging technologies. Now, the point is, why did we pick this topic or why it is important for everyone? Is that the traditional way of working is really not happening as it used to be, if I can put it in as many words, because earlier it was that, the firewall, the routers, switches, and that is what typically was there for securing your card data in PCI DSS. But now, with the advent of the cloud and so many new things happening, what's happening is that it's really not that simple anymore. We need to move beyond the traditional firewalls, routers, switches. And that's where this webinar on what new technologies can be used for securing your card data. All right. So this is what the content is all about. There is a role of PCI compliance and threats and challenges, real life examples, and then how those real life examples could potentially have been, um, you know, maybe averted, or maybe it could be that maybe the impact could have been lessened, or there could have been a better incident response had there been better emerging technologies in place. So then how you can use that to maintain and ensure your PCI compliance. And then last but not the least, how we as a company can help you to maintain your PCI compliance. So on the first 3 points, we'll not be spending a lot of time. Our major focus will be on point number 4 and 5. Similarly, on point number 6, again, it'll just be a touch and go. Now, one of the reasons why webinars do very well is that there is a lot of queries that happen. You can drop in a message to me and I will definitely look it up and maybe even answer you live on the screen itself. So do ensure that whatever your queries are, you can click on the chat window and you can just, uh, you know, drop your message and I look it up and then answer you as much as possible in live. All right. All right. So the role of PCI compliance. Oh, the title is shifted a bit. Anyway, so the primarily it is basically the standard is there in place to help build up um, your compliance to manage that your data is not having any sort of unauthorized access or unauthorized updates, and then again help and mitigate, identify and mitigate vulnerabilities to prevent the card data breaches. And then of course, it is required for partnership with payment processors and financial institutions, because if you're processing card data, most of the merchants will not, most of the acquirers will not agree to work with you unless you are PCI DSS compliant. Your banks won't agree to connect with you unless you're PCI DSS compliant in place. So that was there. So let's look at a few of the threats and challenges. So there are quite a few threats and challenges. So we just summarize that over here. Number one would be the data breaches. That is like unauthorized access to your card data from anywhere. It could be online, it could be offline. And then, of course, there's a phishing attacks, which is one of the key, threats to the card industry and to any other industry for that matter. And the reason is very simple. That is, the weakest link in the chain is always the users, the end users. So phishing attacks using mails, calls, even like visiting a website and getting some enticing offers and somebody clicks on it and then the machine gets infected or data gets goes out. Then there's a CNP fraud. So then again, these are fraudulent transactions where card is not present. So this basically occurs in the online or say the phone transactions. So the card is not present, so somebody uses somebody else's cards and makes it happen. Then of course the number one threat would be malware and ransomware. So this has been like the number one cause of threats of breaches worldwide. So sort of a malware, downloading on your phone, on your laptops, and that is giving out sensitive information to other companies, other clients, of your clients to other companies, or to hackers who then misuse the data for their personal benefit. And a more complicated is the man in the middle attack, where some sort of infrastructure is compromised, which is through which the data is going and coming. And so this man in the middle, or this agent sitting in the middle, just intercepts your data and skims it out and uses it and sends it out to a third party, unauthorized third party. Skimming, again, the this is like from where it all started, if I can say it in that way. Skimming is where you know the use of devices to capture payment card data from physical card readers. So basically, ATM devices, petrol stations, unattended petrol stations. So basically, they change the readers, or they put down some additional equipment, some video cameras or something to check the ATM pin that you enter, or even to read your card on the fly. And now with the NFC cards, that is this tap and go cards, basically speaking. I've seen this technology basically in when I was traveling overseas, and that was more than like 10 years, 8, 10 years back, and that's where I saw it in European countries where the tap and go is there. You just walk past the stations and it picks up your card and authorizes transactions. Well, it does give a lot of convenience, but then you can be walking by in a marketplace and your card is getting picked up. Somebody is picking up your card details using some unauthorized skimming machine. So those are the where the things evolve. And then again, the other threat would be the last but not the least would be the account takeover, wherein somebody breaks into somebody's user ID password for a net banking or for a credit card management accounts online, and then uses it for making unauthorized transactions, or even they might compromise the e-commerce platforms and then take over user accounts and then make some unauthorized transactions. So those are the possibilities where it is happening, threats which are there in the marketplace. And then again, the key challenges for the industry is number one is they're keeping up with all the technologies. So there are rapid advancements in payment technologies, and just keeping in touch with what is happening requires a entire skill set on its own. So the problem that happens is, are you going to run your business, or are you going to keep in touch with technology and ensure that your organization is also updated on a regular basis? And then again, compliance such as PCI DSS is also now becoming uh, regulatory driven. So many countries across the world have mandated PCI DSS. So that's where the regulatory compliance comes into place. Integration, um, basically speaking, what happens is that for many companies, um, integrating their existing machines with a card system or a third-party card management system or third-party PCI APIs becomes very difficult. So that's where the integration issue comes into place. And of course, the weakest link in the chain, the user education. So this also becomes a very important thing, because unless the people who are managing the card data are able to understand that um, the importance of card transactions and the importance of security in the card ecosystem, it's you can have the best technologies in place, it's really not going to help. And from the user education perspective, I can also add that even the users of the card themselves. So newspapers across the world are flooded with people getting scammed or on their various account details on their credit cards and all those things. So that is because I don't know, somebody saying that Ford is giving a Ford Explorer to the first 100 registrants for free because they've completed 100 years. And people are jumping into it. And I don't understand. It is not really gullible. I think the other G word would be greed. So that is where I don't know. That's why I think the word blind greed comes into place. And, one of the only recourse is letting people know how they can get scammed. But again, there is nothing foolproof in this because I've honestly seen very educated people also and very knowledgeable people also getting scammed because the sheer greed is so high. The sheer greed is nothing but sheer greed. That is okay. Put you can buy from here, and this this company or this new website has been launched, and they're giving away Sony TVs for $100. And how the hell is that possible? But people just jump into it. They put in the card details, and then instead of $100, they lose a few $1,000s because the card data is gone. And then the evolving threats again, there is with the dark web around and with the proliferation of AI tools. Um, I just recently read about a ransomware that was written totally by an AI, totally by an AI. There is no human intervention. The AI wrote. So this reminded me of movies like this. You see the dystopian movies on Hollywood where AI takes over the world, and Terminator series back in the 1990s where some AI takes over and destroys the whole world. So anyway, I hope it doesn't go in that direction, but an entire malware written by an AI and it's working. So that really points in some direction. And then, of course, the cost of security measures. So very small companies, it's very difficult. And also, even if it's not a small company, and just think about this. Let's assume there is a Walmart or there is a Costco's or a Wendy's or something. They've got hundreds and thousands of stores. And each of these hundreds and thousands of stores, just or a McDonald's for that matter, thousands of stores and new ones coming up every day. And they have these, terminals working. So how is it possible for each of those end stores to get secure? It's simply the cost for securing would be so high. So that is where in today's marketplace, the merchants are coming up as the weakest in the chain because it's simply not really possible for the or cost effective for them to put very good resources or technologies at the end stores. And then again, the data privacy concerns, privacy is again rising. The concerns for privacy is very much on the rise. And again, these are a few examples that I've put up over here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Then again, this is an example of ICICI Bank in India. And so here you can see, like, just in this, like in 2024 April, just like a few months back, there was a significant data glitch in its iMobile app, which is like the internet banking app. You can also manage your card data with the credit card data and everything. And all the full card data, expiration dates, CVVs, everything is there. So, like 17,000 newly issued cards were linked to the wrong users. So they could have potentially got access to those card details, the CVV, expiry, everything. And that was the complete card data. So then again, and as you're aware, if in India, basically, if you are using your card, there is a OTP that comes, like a one-time password that goes to the linked phone number. But many channels overseas, especially in Europe or United States, they have no such feature. So if the card data is gone, I can use a Indian credit card number overseas also. And there is no OTP coming in. So then the card data just happens. You can just use the card data. So that's where then the bank issued advisory to block all the cards and report in suspicious activities. So all these, this was one of the latest incidents that happened. And again, this is where it was the major reason for the breach: inadequate access control measures, and then lack of regular security audits, insufficient incident response planning. So anyway, this was diagnosed as the reason for the breach. We have not done a forensic on the system, so I can't say this is a definitive thing. But this was really a major issue, major issue. Now this is again a Ticketmaster data security incident. This was again like in this year in May, and over here like the significant it was a significant breach from the hacking group Shiny Hunters, and they affected over 14 million, 40 million users. So over here, as you can see, in the ICCA, there was only 18,000, 17,000, sorry, card data affected. Here, this is like more than 14 million users are affected. So the attackers exploited a vulnerability in the Ticketmaster's customer service portal, and they gained access to the compromised login credentials for Snowflake, which was a cloud storage provider used by the Ticketmaster. And then, of course, Ticketmaster had no option but to shut down the affected systems, notify the users, and then work with cybersecurity experts. And then, of course, as it always happens, multiple lawsuits are filed against them. And see, more than the money paid to the cybersecurity experts and this bad, what really matters for companies like Ticketmaster is the bad PR. So they were basically helping out, end users to book tickets and buy the tickets online for various shows and various productions. So here, once somebody knows that Ticketmaster was compromised and there's a potential of something else going wrong, and they're not managing the security properly, just imagine who will go back to them again. So again, the reason for the breach again exploitation of the third party cloud service providers. Now this is something. um the Ticketmaster can say that okay, it was a third party issue, but then see if you are a Ticketmaster user, you would simply say I don't care. I didn't ask you to sign up with this third party. You signed up. You gave me that consolidated approach as a service to me, so I use that. Again, here a malware is used. The authentication practices was very bad. They could have exploited the single factor authentication. Two factor was not in place. And then again, the lack of visibility and monitoring. So had there been any good monitoring and reporting systems in place, then most probably this breach could have got picked up by their reporting tools and this breach could have been avoided. Then the Sharp Corp data breach. This was again in July. So as you can see, we have picked up the most recent breaches that has happened. Then over here also you can see more than 100,000 customers uh, lost the data. And this again exposed multiple personal information, names, addresses, phone numbers, even potentially credit card details of 203 customers who placed orders between June 23rd and June 30th. 7-day window was there. And then approximately 26,000 people may have got a malware installed on their system, further compromising their systems to data fraud. So Sharp Corp, being a very big organization, suspended both the website and started mitigating the breaches. And they even advised their customers to install the anti-malware and change the passwords and enhance security. But again, see over here again, what happens is a bad PR. Once customers comes to know, you lose customers confidence, you lose a very big thing, because in the service industry, everything is just customer confidence. So again, the reason for the breach, it was an unauthorized party had gained access to Sharp, allowing them to exploit vulnerabilities in the system. And then the insufficient security measures, there was a delayed detection of some hanky-panky happening on the site. If you notice the days, for 7 days, the breach was in place. And then the inadequate incident response, limited security awareness training, of course. Otherwise, had the people been trained appropriately or had they been more vigilant, this could have been avoided, or at least the impact could have been cut down. And then again, failure to regularly update security practices. So then, how can you secure payment data with the emerging technologies? That becomes as a question. Number one on the list would be tokenization. We have done an entire webinar on tokenization. In case you haven't seen it, I would really suggest you to look it up. Tokenization, and then over here you can in the tokenization you can see um, the actual card data is not really transmitted, and the actual card data is not stored by the end merchants. So even if the merchants gets compromised, what can happen is that if the merchants gets compromised, what goes out is just a dummy data. So let's assume, unfortunately, one of the billers or one of the merchants, say Amazon, gets compromised, and your cards are tokenized on Amazon. So in that case, that data is actually useless to whomsoever took the data from Amazon, because what Amazon has is not really actual card data, but something called as a tokenized or like a shadow card data, which cannot be used by anybody else except by Amazon through regular channels, through regularly, like secure channels. So that's where the tokenization comes into place. It can, eliminate up to 90% of the time spent on compliance activities. It's like, unlike the traditional methods, they that may require constant monitoring and updates and all those things. Tokenizations really cuts down on your compliance requirements also, because they are not really managing actual card data. And then flexibility in use. So this allows organization to have the shadow data. They can still continue with the legitimate business processes such as transaction tracking, money laundering. It could be fraud prevention, just even with that shadow data which is there in place. So this is something that you cannot do if you hash the data or you encrypt the data, because you have to decrypt the data, send it back to the acquirer for authentication and authorization. So tokenization is really like a huge leap in managing compliance for the industry. And then again, biometric authentication. This again, biometric authentication. Many a time it is like, you can have a password that's like a two-factor, and then again there is a token which is there installed on your phone, on your system, through which again you get a fresh OTP. So multi-factor is there, but then what happens is that this can again get bypassed if the devices are not used in the appropriate manner. And many a time, because the people who get defrauded, they can claim innocence by saying that, okay, my device was compromised and all those things. But that is where um, you know multi-factor authentication comes, multi-factor using biometric comes into place, because somebody actually has to put their finger on the scanner, or their iris or whatever be the case, to authenticate a particular transaction. And that is something, it is very difficult for somebody to say that, okay, I was not aware, because you did put your finger and authenticated with your thumbprint that particular transaction, and you cannot really say, no, I was not aware. So those things are there. So biometric authentication is again catching up pretty fast, and then contactless payments are there. So this is combined with uh, tokenization, to provide a full to provide a very strong, sturdy technology for ensuring that your data is pretty safe. So contactless payments, again, it is works on the NFC technology, and again they use tokenization that we just discussed, and encryption that everybody knows. And one of the key things that is there in place over here is the transaction limits. So many a time, even the banks allow you to put a limit on how much could be the transaction using a contactless payment system. And then again, the card data storage is also minimized. And then of course, the contactless payments also adheres to the EMV standards for ensuring that the data by the contactless devices or the cards that you're using are also secure enough. Mobile wallets. Over here again, what happens is that the card data is there on a mobile wallet. Many companies, I don't want to take any names, many companies are providing mobile wallets where the card data is stored, and that mobile wallet seamlessly integrates with whatever merchants that you're using, and gives out the card details to them. And they often require a biometric authentication or a facial recognition, so for the transactions to be authorized. So if I can give a very rudimentary, again, the keyword being very rudimentary, is that Something like even your browsers can store your card data. I'm not saying that you do that. Okay, it's not a good practice. Use a proper wallet so um, you can store your card details or there. Even you can store many other things over there. You can even store um, your driver's licenses. You can store your passport copies and so many other things that you can keep over there, which can be reproduced and shown to the authorities if required. So again, this mobile wallets again use tokenization and encryption, and most of them works with biometric authentication in place. And then again, mobile wallet providers, they do the PCI DSS for their systems. So you know that your data is being stored with a PCI DSS, authorized and approved and certified service provider. So go in for that. And again, there is a blockchain. Now, this is really um, catching up, but I've not seen many companies doing that because there is still some sort of people are sitting on the fence, if I can say that, to see whether the blockchain technology will actually work and something doesn't come up at the last minute and screws up the entire technology, and then oh, this is not working anymore. Right. So, but the blockchain has a huge amount of promise, and many companies have shifted their entire processes to blockchain technologies. We have done a webinar just on this as to how blockchain works. And then again, because it's a decentralized ledger, um, it's not just like a one repository in the center, which can be broken into or compromised by a hacker. So the data is stored across multiple channels. So a hacker will have to literally get into hundreds of systems to be able to update the ledger where the data is being kept and steal it or manipulate it in any manner. And the cryptography on blockchain technology is literally at this point of time foolproof, cannot be broken into. And then again, there is there is a concept of smart contracts because again, somebody signs an order or somebody receives an order or pays for an order that cannot be edited directly because that's how the blockchain works. And then reduced data storage and real-time authentication. So again, most of these blockchain technologies have their own systems, certified on PCI DSS. So if you're storing your data on blockchain, that's also a great way to use emerging technologies to save your data properly or to safeguard your data. Then efficient cross-border transactions is again, there are many technologies come up over here, many service providers which are there in place. So when your data is going from one location to another location across the world or across from your geographical boundaries from your country to some other country, most of these systems use APIs which are extremely strong and steady for fraud detection, authentication, encryption. So this is also something that you should, in case you are, uh, you know, getting in touch with a third party or working with companies or clients across borders, you can always use this cross-border technologies which are there in place to ensure that your data is also, safeguarded appropriately. And of course, then there is ISO 20022 for enhanced interoperability across data patterns or data applications, which is there. And by the very process of how cross-border data transfer works, there's a lot of checks and balances to in place to ensure that data integrity is maintained properly, data confidentiality is maintained properly, and there's a huge network of acquiring banks across the world. So what happens is that in a cross-border data transfer, there are banks which are facilitating this cross-border transfer of data patterns. One of them could be is the Swift pattern, where they're using Swift technology for transferring of very confidential data from one bank from one country to another country. Even within they use it, but that's one of the technologies which is there. But there are many more multi-factor authentication, as you've seen, this is the base minimum. Now, this is mandated by PCI DSS. It was there mandated earlier also, but now it is there are put in some more checks and balances on that. So, multi-factor authentication is one of the least things, as you've seen in these three breaches that we discussed earlier. In one of those breaches, even the just a single factor authentication was in place. So, single factor authentication can get breached very easily, but if there is a multi-factor authentication in place, the chances of that is not very high. Multi-factor authentication with OTP is the best thing that you can use. If you're using that with biometrics, nothing better than that. So you can have a password with a biometric. Some very highly sensitive zones I've seen, they don't use a concept of password at all. You have to, have an OTP on a device plus biometric. So that is something that cannot be leaked at all because both the factors are now um, extremely robust. That is OTP and biometric. So that is something that you've seen some companies do. Then how to maintain and ensure PCI compliance. Now that you have all the technologies in place, how do you maintain it? Very important. That is conduct regular assessments. Now don't just wait for the external auditor to come. There is a requirement in PCI DSS to schedule a regular, in a routine internal audit and then engage with the external assessors on a periodic basis, perform vulnerability scanning as and when required. And again, for PCI DSS, there is a schedule also for that. Internal VA, internal PT, external VA, external PT, segmentation testing, ASV testing, all those things are there in place. And then review and update the security policies. It's a mandate to update security policies on a annual basis. They have to be reviewed and updated to ensure that they are still a reflection of the risk, of the controls managing the risk in your organization. And then again, track and document compliance metrics. Uh, we always suggest this to our clients that is have a sort of a reporting metric or how well did you do in your audit types. So which are the corrective actions, which are the assessment findings, which are the compliance metrics, and then implement very strong security measures. You need to use advanced encryptions. Don't just rely on whatever you're using earlier. I hope you are still not using that TLS1, TLS 1.1 type technologies, and that you have upgraded yourself to TLS say 1.3. So those are a few things that you need to have in place. I hope that none of you are still using SSL 1, 2, 3, whatever be the case, because that's all extremely outdated. And then again, deploy robust access control measures and access control with access management. That is ensuring that there is somebody who's managing the access, and in case of unauthorized access, something gets reported. And then regularly update your software and systems, conduct continuous monitoring, which is requirement 10 in PCI DSS. And then network segmentation. This is again, if you look at PCI DSS requirement 1, this is a mandate. You cannot have, you need, sorry, my apologies. Network segmentation is not really a mandate in PCI DSS, but it is a very strongly recommended approach, because what happens is that in case you do not do network segmentation, um, let's assume that in your organization there are 500 systems, and of those 500 systems, actually speaking, only 100 are coming under scope for PCI DSS. Now, without segmentation, all your 500 will be in scope. So your compliance time and compliance cost would go through the roof. And that's where segmentation is strongly recommended by PCI, though not a mandate, because by segmentation, you can segment your network in a way that you are able to segregate only those systems which are having, which are in scope for PCI DSS. So only those 100 odd systems need to get certified, need to get covered under the audit for PCI, and your cost of compliance comes down. And in case you would like to learn more on segmentation, do head out to our um, YouTube channel on YouTube, our Vista InfoSec channel on YouTube, and you'll see over there that there is a lot of content. You can go to the PCI DSS playlist, and in the PCI DSS playlist, our number one video is on segmentation, network segmentation, which will be a huge help to you to understand how segmentation actually works. And this is one of the key hallmarks for a very strong compliance provision in place, that is regular training. Now, regular training, one for your employees, then for your management, and then also for your end users. This is required. And if you have got your software development team in place, then separate training is required as per requirement 6 for your software development team also. So then there has to be like a very focused approach for training as per the department. So, for example, your monitoring team needs to get a very specialized training on best practices for training, and then again, your software development needs to get a specific training. Your operations team needs to get a specific training to know that what risks are faced by them, by their team only. Many companies we've seen is that they have a training in place which is a very generic, just to like a tick mark thing. I would like to tell you that you are playing with fire. You have taken care of an elephant, but you want to now be stingy with taking care of the tail of the elephant. So training is not really going to kill you a lot. It's got very definite, uh, benefits, very much definite benefits, and you really need to have a very customized training set done for your team members, which includes even third-party team members. And then monitor and respond to threats. Again, this is required in real time as is mandated by version 4 of PCI DSS. Then internal audits, incident response plan, as you can see, comes up again and again. A comprehensive incident response plan is very, very important. And then review the security logs and then train your people. Again, the training part is coming in quite frequently, as you can see, because you can have the best technologies. But if your team is not up to date, they are not aware of what they're doing, why they are doing, and how their work might have an impact on the organization, it's really not going to matter much. Maintain very detailed documentation of your policies and procedures, and then again your records of compliance. Why this is important? In case there is a breach, in case there is a breach, there will be a heavy forensic maybe done by your government, by your acquiring banks, and even by the payment brands themselves. So when they do that, see now, no system in the world is 100% foolproof and they will never be hacked. But if you have a good monitor system in place, proper document in place, and proper reporting being maintained of change management, incident management, access control, then you can show that you've done your due diligence. You've done your due care, you've done your due diligence, and then still something happens. So let me assure you that even the forensic investigators, the acquiring banks, and the payment brands would have some empathy towards you. Otherwise, you are literally asking for trouble and taking everything for granted. So this thing is really going to help you. God forbid something goes wrong. Then, of course, last but not the least, how we can help you. Like we've been there for like 20 years now, and we have started working on PCI DSS right from version 1.1, 1.2. That was in 2007, 2008 onwards. And then we can help you end to end. We can work on the gap analysis for you. We can help in customized recommendations for you. We can do all the technical assessments for you on PCI DSS, whether it is a vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, even review of your policies, updating, which is required, and then, of course, we can give you the detailed reports for what could be the detail, what are the gaps, how you can fix it, and the mitigation strategies. And then even help you with the consulting if required. We have an independent consulting team also. We can help you with the policy development as required, and then helping you in the mitigation of the risk. Again, we don't sell any products, no hardware, no software. We're totally neutral in all these areas. And then last but not the least, what is also required is, uh, you know, the 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 annual compliance requirements, and that's where again we can help you. And then of course, we have our dedicated audit team where we can do the QSA audit for you with guided preparation. We do the compliance reviews and then the audit and reporting, writing the ROCs, the AOCs, and then in case post audit also, if you need any sort of support, we are there with you. Okay, we have been there for a long time now, so you can leverage our expertise on that. And yeah, that's our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel, and also look forward to hearing from you. That's our contact details. Do drop us a line, and I look forward to be uh, in touch with you. Do drop me your queries also, and I assure you that we'll get back to you on the earliest on that too. Thank you again, and have a great day ahead.